not what I intended. This whole trajectory is not my idea at all. And God has a funny way of working stuff out. And a few months later, I'm in Atlanta doing an urban ministry project, and with this InterVarsity Christian Fellowship. It's an evangelical group that I've been involved with, and living in the inner city. It's a very nice neighborhood today in Atlanta. And somebody was in church and he said, "Oh, you're going to law school. You're here in this ministry. You know that guy?" And pointed to this tall guy in the corner, always brought his guitar to church and played. I know. He said, "But you should go talk to him. He's a lawyer. He's starting this new thing. You should, And so that guy was the founder of our organization, John Pickens, and the story. It took me 5 times to let me volunteer with on my way to law school, because he had just set up shop in his house. He had no staff, barely had any money to make this happen. And so I got involved with John back then. So I always say I was the first volunteer of the organization. I was the second full-time employee in 1990 when he raised enough money to hire me. And then I became the second executive director in 95 when he left to go do something else. So I always say this is not what I intended to do. And for me, it's a merger. I always say it's a merger of 3 things. And I might have said this, Sylvia, I forgot what I said on it, but I gave it something. You graciously invited me to go talk at your gathering. So I forgot. But what I say is, for me, it's a merger of my life of suffering, trying to escape suffering. It's a merger of my faith and being called back to suffering. And then it's also my wife is, I don't know if any of you, maybe you know, is that my wife has been together since college, is a woman of color, and I think racism, and I'm glad you were going to put that on the sheet, Jonathan. And I have 2 sons. I think you can't. I mean, I don't do this work because of my family. It's all this combination for me of those 3 of racial justice, of very personal of sort of reconciling suffering, and of being called to sort of go into the darkness. And I would appreciate you used the poem you used earlier. I write a lot about darkness, and I write a lot about those of us called to go back to darkness. And I get to I don't know if it's some of the stories I guess as well.